This will be the final video I record in 2024, but the first video I upload in 2025. Anyways, in, well, the 2020s, I am constantly amazed by the engineering of third-party transformers, the wonders of having barely any restrictions can do. But sometimes it's figures not connected to the IP at all that are the most interesting. An example being this guy right over here, from Toyeasy, that turns into a Tiger 1 tank from World War II. And let's just say now, this thing right over here is incredible. This lanky bot, only slightly shorter than an 86 Dinobot, but significantly heftier due to die-cast metal, is riddled with mechanical detailing, making it fit right in with other Baver's bots like Dino and Lockdown here. Its physique doesn't lend one to think that the alt mode is a tank. Even G1 Brawl had a wide torso, as shown right over here. It hints at a bulky vehicle mode, not like the backpack gives it away or anything. Speaking of giveaways, you remove the tracks showing on the shoulders from this guy, and you will not even know what its alt mode is. The turret just disappears into the robot, and that's a sign of either a great or terrible transformation. The only part I consider kibble are the track parts hanging at the back of the shoulders, and even then, they aren't that bad. The head, with the silver skull face, beading red eyes, and what looks to be a hat of Soviet origin, I'm not exactly sure, gives me Wolfenstein or Jinro vibes, which is very fitting. And all the paint applied breaks up the monotone dark grey enough to not look boring while still giving off a militaristic feel. Just look at that. It all feels expertly done. You got these pistons right over here, or cylinders, whichever one I guess. You even have a popped collar to most likely tie this guy to the fashionable uniforms of the German army during that period. There's a video on YouTube that apparently explains why. I never watched it though. You can already tell what its personality is. Cold, calculating, brutish. His arsenal though lends him into more of a berserker role. What of the axe that also has flame effect parts and is also entirely made of die-cast metal, which is fun. Anyways, here's a better look at it. Got some nice paint applied. This part over here is the die-cast. I just sort of wish that he could grip it better. Hinged fingers are great for poses, but holding things, not so much. There's nothing to tab in here or anything. You just gotta rely on the grip itself, and well, I would say it's alright. I definitely want something a bit more secure, because at some point it will just sort of flop around and I don't really like that. Anyways, other accessories include effect parts for tank mode, this one and these two right over here, for the main turret and machine gun, as well as the turret gun itself. Now you can attach it onto the chest warpath style. Just need to flip this up and just flip out this port right over here, put it back down and just simply plug it in. However, it is at an angle, so it's a bit droopy and doesn't look that great if I'm being honest, so just ignore that. It does eliminate parts forming, so there is a pro for doing that. But you can also just unplug one of the hands and just, plug the gun in. You can do this. Or, my favorite thing to do is to tab it into the right shoulder and right shoulder only. And there you go. He now has a shoulder cannon that you can also use the blast effect parts. They are quite sharp, so be careful of that. They're very pointy. And you're gonna have him, shooting someone, which is very nice. Articulation ain't bad on this guy. All the things you need plus a bit more. The head is of course ball jointed for 360 movement with some tilting and up down movement. The arms rotate fully and also goes out this much, hitting the head, but you can get more via extending these armatures and also avoiding hitting the head, which is pretty good. Might look a bit awkward though, but well. The elbows are double jointed on paper, As you can see, there's one here and another right over here. However, the swivel is between them, meaning when you rotate it out sideways, you only get a bend of close to 90 degrees. Front side, if this part moved out of the way, you, well, get a bit more than a 90, which ain't bad, but not really that much of an increase, so I'd say it's negligible. Actually, it doesn't look that bad. Well, basically, the elbows aren't that much of a problem, but I thought I would just point it out. Anyways, the wrist rotates because, you know, it's like on a peg, so of course. Fingers are semi-articulated. They have individual joints here at the top part, but at the bottom, they're all connected. Bit of a shame. The thumb is, of course, independent. You got yourself a rotating waist, you know, the full amount, and an ab crunch solely for robot mode. Doesn't affect transformation at all. Nice. And the butt flap for this amount. And with that, the legs can go out this much and back this much. You got the full front splits. You got yourself the full split right over here, and a thigh swivel, a double jointed knee bend, a really good amount, decent ankle pivot. It will get you enough, I guess, unless we're talking about the other side, in which case you now have a broken foot, and up, down, and toe bend. And that's all of it. The one thing I wish for is that the mouth can actually open like Gustav, another transforming World War II figure made by the same company. Bit of a missed opportunity, but yeah. Now it's on to the transformation that you will barely see, as I'll speed it up until it's 25 seconds long. The conversion was certainly complex and tiring for my arms to transform it on camera, but it was quite the enjoyable experience, seeing where stuff goes and the tank slowly taking shape. My main complaint are tab tolerances, specifically the ones on the tracks. They are painted tabs, this one's right over here, meaning they are way too tight. Combine that with the tracks having these studs right over here, which you use for grip to pull it out, makes getting them out a bitch. It's why I actually haven't tabbed them in, because it's a pain to do that. It's the one thing I hate about third-party companies. Places where you're supposed to pull stuff out, having sharper edges mean that it's painful for your fingers, and tabs being too tight. It's similar to a certain ace shooter whose doors are a pain to tab it and get out. There are 3 tabs here, and every time I try and, you know, transform it from robot to vehicle and vice versa, it feels like I'm gonna break something. Mostly these pieces, mostly this, because it's entirely clear plastic. Anyways, other than that flaw, everything else is perfect. From any angle you look at, this is the icon of the German Panzer Division. It embodies the same philosophy of quality over quantity, and also displays its flaws in similar areas. By that I mean the tracks. Cause look at all these overlapping wheels. They are a pain to replace. If this one is broken, you gotta get these 2 out before you can reach this. That's a bit of an overlooked flaw. Now there is a small historical inaccuracy. On the turret is the number 131. This is a very important number, as it's the number of the only surviving and drivable Tiger tank in the world. It makes sense to have it here. However, that Tiger 131 was part of the African campaign with its sandy tan colors, and this is very much not that. A small issue, I guess. Now, as it's a tank, the turret can rotate a full 360s. Sometimes you might get snagged on bits and pieces, but it's not a huge problem. The gun barrel has both elevation and depression, a decent amount. Got yourself the blast effects because they are cool. Remember, these things are sharp. You gotta put this one in first and poke your fingers. And just do that much because you don't want to poke it even more. There you go. Now he's firing. A hatch that opens, which is pretty neat. A machine gun that's ball jointed so you can rotate out, so you can rotate it wherever you want, and also comes with its very own blast effect. Very nice. And the axe goes nowhere because it's technically supposed to be the gun barrel, as you can see by this little detailing right over here. It's neat, I guess, although where this part of the axe goes, I don't know. Well, they committed to it, I guess. This is clearly made for someone who is a fan of World War II tanks and also wishes more Transformers have World War II alt modes, because it is very underutilized. The one thing that I wish this thing had, other than better tabs, is that he had an assault rifle, specifically the STG-44, because, you know, why not? This certainly scratches that itch I never knew I actually had until I saw those Toywood Transformers and just marveled at how cool that Starscream turns into a triplane. There's some World War I, so no Messerschmitt Bf 109, I guess. Now, for the price I got this guy, it's stellar. 86 SGD, which is less than leader class. Now, I do remember one reviewer's copy having tight joints, and you may have heard in the articulation segment, they're not too tight, but you can really hear the squeaking. So be wary if you want to get this guy. Now I wonder when an M4 Sherman and its many variants are coming. Anyways, this is a high recommendation for me, and with that, this video is done. Thanks for watching, and I hope this was useful, and to see you next time.